Hello and welcome. I'm Claire Feldman, your host and guide on this journey to thriving in private practice without the burnout. Are you a passionate therapist who's struggling with the entrepreneurial side of things? Do you wish you could serve great fit clients at times that suit you? Are you seeking financial stability so you can continue doing what you love? If so, then you're in the right place. My own journey started back in 2012 when I qualified as a CBT therapist. I've experienced the challenges of setting up a private practice, from accommodating clients at all hours to dealing with unclear policies and undercharging for my services. It was a tough road, but it led me to where I am today, a successful eating disorder practitioner who has learned not only to value my work, but also to connect with my dream clients. I know firsthand the difficulties of navigating the business aspects of therapy, from building a website to managing social media. But I've made the mistake so you don't have to. Together, we'll explore how you can build and grow your dream practice. So let's get started. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 3 of the Prosper in Private Practice podcast. That is a bit of a mouthful to say. I might need to review the title of this podcast, but for now it is going to stay. And today I'm going to be talking to you about just some things I want you to give a little bit of consideration to before you embark on opening your private practice. So the reason why I am going to talk about this today is because as counsellors and therapists, what we tend to be really great at is we feel really passionate about wanting to help people. We maybe feel really passionate about wanting to get going in private practice, that we've learnt all these skills. We feel really great about the role that we're embarking upon, and we want to just help as many people as possible. And so we just start looking at, right, what are all the things that we need to do, getting on directories, making sure that we're legally covered with our paperwork and data protection and registering with the ICO and all those kind of like the practical things that we have to do. We can't get away from doing them. But I think there's something that we need to do before we engage in any of that, any of the practical things or registering with directories. What we need to spend a little bit of time doing first is thinking about the bigger picture and thinking about the bigger vision that we have for our practices and what we want it to look like, perhaps in the long term. And this is something that I'm still working on, still learning myself, but I'm definitely getting much better at it. But when I think back to when I first was setting up my private practice, which is called Ethology, that there was no strategy. There was no forward planning. I just wanted to get on with it and get going and start seeing people and start helping people. And I remember joining up for like a free mentoring program with the local council and going to meet with this lovely lady, lovely mentor, to sit down and kind of talk about what my business idea was, what my private practice idea was, and what I wanted for it. And when she started talking about crafting a business plan, I just kind of looked at her puzzled and like inwardly was kind of thinking, no, this is boring. I don't need a business plan. I've got this sussed. I know what I'm doing. I know who I'm going to help, and I just need to get cracking. So I just need to, focus on my marketing, was kind of the mentality that I had. And I was sort of scoffing, inwardly scoffing at her suggestion of doing something like a business plan. And I did, in my true to me fashion and style, I charged on ahead, and whilst it has paid off eventually, 5 years later, I think that there was an awful lot of charging into things and falling flat on my face and then struggling to pick myself back up again and get going again. That actually in reality I I was tearing off in lots of different directions and trying lots of different things, which we do need to do as business owners and as entrepreneurs. You will need to do this. But I think had I have actually gotten much clearer in the beginning of what my strategy was around my practice and what I wanted it to look like, that it probably could have saved me from making some mistakes and from making maybe some decisions that really weren't aligned with me or what I wanted for my practice. So the just taking a stop and creating a pause, if you are in that place of you're maybe you're about to be newly qualified, or you're qualified but you're thinking about dipping your toe into private practice, this is the bit that often that we don't think about, that gets overlooked, that I want you just to consider. And that is, what is your vision for the future for your private practice? So if you were to imagine 3 years, 5 years down the line, like, what are your hopes? What are your hopes and your aspirations for your private practice? Are you planning, in this vision, do you see yourself just working on a one-to-one basis in your practice? Will you be working face-to-face? Will you be working remotely? Will you only be offering counselling, or might there be other things that you could be offering? Maybe you'll be offering supervision, maybe you will be offering group workshops, maybe you'll be selling courses, maybe you could be selling resources like PDFs or audios, maybe you've written a book, maybe you're creating or crafting self-help journals for your clients. That there are limitless possibilities of what you could be doing in your practice, but it's really good for you to be thinking of those things now, so that you can be making the decision of, every time you're making a business decision now, or you're working towards your goals, that the actions and the behaviors that you're taking are actually aligned with this bigger vision of what you have in your mind. So for example, with my private practice, that I knew that I was wanting to get to a place where I would reduce my one-to-one work down, because I wanted to start investing time into mentoring and into the enriched practice and into my monthly membership hub. So my longer term strategy there was creating online resources, an online course, and offering breakthrough sessions, just so that I had other ways of working with me that clients could sign up to, other ways of getting help that wasn't just that one-to-one long-term commitment of therapy. And doing that has enabled me to then reduce my one-to-one workload, still have some income coming through my online courses and hypnotherapy audios, and that's given me the space then to now turn my attention towards my strategy for the enriched practice. So just kind of thinking about that for yourself, that creating that kind of longer term plan means that from day one, really, that everything you're doing, you're thinking about this bigger picture, you're thinking about this end vision, and you're thinking about this end goal. So one of the first things that I want you to consider is, who is it that you're actually going to help? Who are you going to serve? Now, you're going to hear me loads in upcoming episodes talking about niching, about the power of niching, and why I'm a huge advocate for it. I do very much believe that when you are trying to speak to everybody and market to everyone, you're not really marketing to anybody. That it's so much easier when you have a really, really defined niche area, problem, client difficulty, that when you're really, really specific, like the more specific, the better, that it makes all of your marketing efforts just so much easier going forward. So And I know this can be so difficult, especially if you're newly qualified, you want to get going in practice, that you might be thinking, but no, I just want to help everybody. I don't want to say no to people. I don't want to turn anybody away. I want to help everybody. Or I'm scared to niche because I'm just literally getting started. So I don't want to turn down the opportunity of people potentially signing up with me because I need the income. Or you might be thinking, and this is absolutely fair, you might be thinking that, well, I haven't had enough experience of working with enough variety of problems or clients to really know what my niche is. So if you are in that category and you're not sure, then that is absolutely fine. That you might need a little bit of time to get some more experience and to find out where your area of interest or passion really is. But it's something for you just to bear in mind, that ideally really getting clear on your ideal client and curating your niche is something that will really help you in your marketing efforts and with your private practice going forward. So that's something just to think of to begin with. Who do you want to serve and how are you going to serve them? Next thing to think about is when you are then in private practice and you're about to start kind of marketing. Like, this is a really saturated market now, that there are loads and loads of counsellors and therapists that are maybe struggling to find paid work because maybe they're not accredited or they don't meet certain criteria, that maybe are, have had enough working for EAPs and are now looking to work in private practice. So I think really now the volume of therapists that we have in private practice is probably the highest that it's ever been, that it is therefore a competitive market. And again, this is where actually if you're a generalist or you're trying to appeal to everybody, it might be more difficult then to attract clients, because if people are looking for help, they are maybe going to be more inclined to look for a counsellor or therapist that has specific experience and perhaps lived in experience in their particular difficulty. So given how competitive the market is, trying to think about what is going to make your private practice maybe stand out from the crowd, what is going to be your unique selling proposition that's going to make what you offer slightly different. And this isn't about you being really competitive with other therapists, like you're not fighting with other therapists. What you're trying to do is to essentially market yourself in an effective way to your ideal client, and in doing so you're helping your ideal client to find you. But in doing that, you need to be creative and effective in how you communicate your value, how you communicate your unique style and way of working, and how you communicate what might be different about you and your services. And that can be anything from that perhaps that you have lived in experience of whatever your niche area is, and whatever the client difficulty is, you have unique experience of that. It might be that you combine specific types of therapy that offer something quite unique. It might be that you're trained in something that is quite highly sought after in terms of helping with certain difficulties. It might be that you offer something slightly different in terms of your services or your packages. So you might offer you might offer resources alongside your one-to-one work. You might offer audio guides, hypnotherapy, meditation. You might offer access to communities, supportive communities. You might offer free access if they work with you, to resources and courses or things like that. So it's just about trying to think about what is it that you can have, what is it that you can bring to your ideal client that might make what you're offering, your services, your packages, just look slightly different from what everybody else might be doing. The next thing to think about is, what will your business model look like? So, will you just be offering counselling on a one-to-one basis, or will you be working face to face? Will you be working online, or perhaps a combination of the two of those together? And I know certainly with a lot of mentoring clients that I've worked with, that there is a real desire to diversify income, to kind of know in the long term that they don't want to be doing maybe one-to-one client work forever, and that there is the option of diversifying into other income sources, like doing group-based workshops or creating online courses, or selling products. And those things, what I will always kind of say, those things are brilliant ideas, and they're great to include in kind of your long-term strategy of what you want for your practice. The bit that then gets missed, which is so important, is that if you're wanting to scale beyond just one-to-one client work, you must have an audience in order to do that. You must have an audience to sell to. And this is where strategy is so important. So if you are if you have ideas and visions for the future of your practice, that you know you'd like to diversify your income, you know you'd like to deliver group programs, group workshops, webinars, paid webinars, etc., you need to then be thinking really from day one, how do I start to build and grow an audience? Traditionally, what counsellors and therapists will be used to is that they're maybe advertising on Psychology Today, on Counselling Directory, and possibly through their own website, that they're used to attracting clients on a one-to-one basis through those platforms. But actually what that tends to mean is that they just work with the client one-to-one, and then therapy ends, and that's it. But if you're looking to sell things like group workshops or courses, you need to have an audience that you have built, that you have grown, and that you have nurtured. And this is where having other skills around marketing is going to be so important. Now, don't panic if you're listening to this right now and going, well, I haven't got a clue how to grow an audience, I haven't got a clue how to nurture an audience. These are topics that I'll be covering in future podcasts, and we'll give plenty of time to explain what that means. But the kind of things that you might want to be considering is things like on your website. If you're getting a website built, is there a facility that people can sign up to your email list? Because your email list is probably the best place that you could be nurturing your audience and sending them newsletters and sending them little bits of education or insights or things that really might be helpful for them with their difficulties. And so generally what that would look like is that somebody might visit your website, they might see that you have a free ebook or a free offer of something that might be really beneficial and really helpful to them. And so in exchange for their email address, they will sign up for that, and that they then become a part of your email list. And when they're on your email list, then your role would be to give them information, insights, nurture that relationship, so that when it comes to a time when you're maybe delivering your group workshops, your courses, your programs, that actually you have an audience there that know you, that like you, that trust you, that are then going to be interested in buying your courses or buying your programs. And that is very much a long-term plan. It would be very difficult for you to open your private practice and immediately start selling group workshops or courses or products if you don't have an audience that you have nurtured that are going to be interested in buying from you. And this is where then really diversifying just beyond the directory profiles and beyond your website, and thinking about things like having a presence on social media, growing an audience on social media, and setting up a free offer that people can sign up to, and growing an email list. That if your long-term vision is courses and workshops, that really having a social media presence and having an email list are probably two things that you're really going to want to be considering. And like I said, that you would be thinking about those things now, even though you're not maybe going to be working on those for 6 months, a year plus kind of down the line. They're the kind of things that you would want to be thinking about now as part of your overall strategy. So I hope I haven't scared you off talking about things like email lists and talking about things like audience growing. These are things that, don't worry, we will cover them in future podcast episodes. But I guess what I wanted to get you to really think about today is just thinking at a higher level, thinking beyond the I just want to help everybody and I just want to, write my profile and just get started. Putting some more thought, putting some more planning in advance will pay you off in the long run. So just to recap what we talked about, taking that time to get really clear on what you want your private practice to look like. Do you want to work online or face-to-face, or a blend of both? What days do you want to work? What shift patterns do you want to be available? Who do you want to help? And get really, really clear on who your ideal client is and how you're going to help them to overcome their difficulties. And what is it about you that makes you unique and that makes you different? Whether that be something about you personally that makes you unique and different, whether that be something about the blend of modalities that you offer, or whether that be something to do with the types of packages or services that you offer. What is it that makes your service different and unique from all the other services potentially that are out there? And thinking about your real clear vision of what you want the end goal of your practice to look like, so that you can map out clear objectives that are going to help you to get there, starting with your one-to-one work and then thinking about building and growing and nurturing an audience, potentially to lead into then diversifying your income in other ways. So I hope that was helpful for you. It's given you a little bit of kind of food for thought around, actually, am I thinking strategically about my practice? Am I thinking about the end vision? I think it's so difficult at the minute that people are so caught up in I'm panicking because actually I need money, I need income, I just need to say yes right now, I need clients in right now. That can feel really difficult, that can feel really uncomfortable. But the sitting in the quieter moments, the sitting in the stillness and actually thinking about the vision of what you want for your practice, what that's going to look like, how that is going to feel, and what objectives do you need to set yourself in order to start working towards those, will honestly pay you off dividends in the long run. So I hope that has been helpful for you, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care. Bye.